A single set, X, in an AutoSys job script leaked Amazon Web Services keys to stdout, and a developer accidentally pushed that log file to a public GitHub repo. The bill hit $47,000 before anyone noticed. Here's exactly why. Let's break down AutoSys Cloud Workload Automation, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. AutoSys Cloud Workload Automation is Broadcom's distributed job scheduler that orchestrates batch processes across on-premises, hybrid, and multi-cloud environments. It's the enterprise-grade evolution of the original AutoSys product, designed to manage complex job dependencies, triggers, and SLA-based execution at scale. Most enterprises don't go fully cloud overnight. The most common pattern is hybrid. On-premises, AutoSys jobs orchestrate a mix of traditional server-based jobs and cloud jobs. AutoSys acts as the central control plane for the entire workflow regardless of where each step actually executes. Here's a real JIL example showing a hybrid workflow. Step 1 runs an on-prem extract. Step 2 triggers an Amazon Web Services Lambda via CLI. Step 3 loads data back to on-prem. Notice the condition lines in force ordering. Broadcom's strategic direction is Automic Workload Automation, AWA, which extends AutoSys capabilities with native cloud job types, container orchestration, and REST-TFL API integration. It's worth evaluating for new cloud-native deployments. Here's a quick mapping of concepts. If you're migrating, you'll run both side by side, AutoSys for legacy on-prem, Automic for new cloud workloads. Here's a practical checklist for cloud integration. The most overlooked item is credential rotation. Static Amazon Web Services keys are a ticking time bomb. Use identity and access management roles for elastic compute cloud agents. For on-prem agents, use Amazon Web Services System's Manager Parameter Store with automatic rotation. To avoid sync death spirals when integrating with Azure Data Factory, use an Azure function as a bridge. It validates the payload, calls AutoSys, and returns a 202 immediately. The pipeline pulls a cached status store instead of AutoSys directly. Here's the actual ADF pipeline YAML for polling. It uses an until activity with a timeout. The status is fetched from a cached store, not AutoSys directly, to avoid failures when the scheduler restarts. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The JIL job invoked a shell script that had set x-bash debug mode, which prints every command and variable expansion to stdout. The stdout was captured by AutoSys to a network file share. A developer, debugging an unrelated issue, copied the log file to their local machine and later committed it to a public GitHub repository by mistake. The keys were exfiltrated within hours. The root cause was hard-coded Amazon Web Services access keys in job scripts, which were printed to logs via setx, and then committed to a public GitHub repo. The fix involved multiple layers. First, replace static keys with identity and access management roles attached to the agent's Elastic Compute Cloud instance. Second, removed setx from production scripts and used structured logging without secrets. Third, implemented secret scanning in CI to prevent keys from being committed to Git. Finally, rotated all static keys quarterly and set up CloudTrail alerts for anomalous API calls. This is the exact mistake from the incident. The script had static keys and setx. The setx line printed the keys to stdout, which ended up in a public GitHub repo. Never hardcode keys and never use setx in production scripts. If you don't set term runtime, a cloud API call that hangs will keep the job in running state forever. Downstream jobs never start, and no alert fires because the job hasn't failed. Without term runtime, a cloud API call that hangs will keep the job in running state indefinitely. Downstream jobs never start, and no alert fires because the job hasn't failed. Always set term runtime to 2x expected runtime. The term runtime attribute shown in the article is supported in AutoSys R11.3 and later. In older versions, R11.0, R11.2, the attribute is named maxRunAlarm and behaves differently. It only sends an alarm without terminating the job. Always verify your AutoSys version before using term runtime for cloud job timeouts. The article mentions retry logic, but doesn't show a concrete script. Here's a robust shell snippet that retries an Amazon Web Services CLI call up to 3 times with exponential backoff, capturing exit codes and logging for AutoSys. A common production issue not covered. The Amazon Web Services CLI version on the agent machine may be outdated, causing API calls to fail with invalid action or missing required parameter errors. Always pin the CLI version in your agent bootstrap script and test against the cloud provider's API version used by your jobs. Here's a quick debug guide. Use autorep to check job status and term runtime. Test identity and access management permissions by running the CLI command manually from the agent. Check cloud service rate limits with grep and CloudWatch. Compare environment variables to catch credential mismatches. Let's run through some common interview questions. How does AutoSys handle cloud workloads? 3 patterns. CMD plus CLI, native cloud job types, Automic WA. What security considerations for cloud integration? Use identity and access management roles, rotate keys, avoid set X least privilege policies. How to trigger Amazon Web Services Lambda from AutoSys? CMD job with Amazon Web Services Lambda invoke, capture exit code, set term runtime. And a few frequently asked questions. Can AutoSys schedule cloud jobs? Yes, via CMD plus CLI, native types, or Automic WA. What is Automic WA? Broadcom's next-gen cloud-native workload automation platform. How to avoid static keys in AutoSys. Use identity and access management roles, managed identities, or secrets manager. Key takeaways. Use identity and access management roles and managed identities instead of static credentials. Always set term runtime for cloud-triggered jobs to avoid indefinite hangs. Avoid set X in production scripts to prevent credential leaks. Implement retry with exponential backoff for transient cloud failures. Ready to go deeper? Up next, AutoSys interview questions and answers, then introduction to Jenkins, then Jenkins installation and setup. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.